So the LEAP Manifesto is a set of 15 political demands that came out of a unique social movement constellation in Canada, kind of once-in-a-generation social movement moment where people came together across traditional divides, trade unions and environmentalists, Indigenous people, anti-poverty and refugee rights folks, to set out a roadmap for what it would look like to get Canada off of fossil fuels in a hurry, in a way that disproportionately benefits marginalized communities and attacks inequality. So the LEAP Manifesto is kind of like, it's at the cutting edge of climate justice activism, which unites workers and environmentalists and actually forecasts a much sunnier future in creating a low carbon economy in which we can attack economic injustice and inequality in the way that we transition off fossil fuels, in the way that we deal with the climate crisis and lower emissions. When the LEAP Manifesto was written, it was endorsed by the largest public sector union in Canada, the Canadian Union of Public Employees. It was endorsed by the head of the labor movement, the Canadian Labour Congress. The president personally signed it. We had the Public Service Alliance of Canada and the postal workers. So some tremendously important big public sector unions. And lots of smaller labor councils. And this is really historic because as an economy that really depends on fossil fuels, especially in the last decade when we had a very conservative government that realigned Canada's economy to depend on extracting tar sands oil, it has been a time when that labor-environmentalist divide has been deepened in Canada, but the LEAP Manifesto really felt like a breath of fresh air in terms of really good labor buy-in initially. About a year ago, we had this historic and incredible victory of our traditional left-wing party, the NDP, the New Democratic Party, the Labour Party of Canada, win in Alberta. It had been 45 years of an oil-soaked, corrupt, conservative government in Alberta that basically was just a vehicle for doing whatever big oil and gas wanted. And people got tired of their mismanagement, got tired of having huge deficits, despite the fact that billions of dollars in bitumen were being sucked out of the ground there and exported to head office wherever Exxon or Chevron or Gazprom or whoever else lives. And they've said enough, and they elected this progressive government. It's amazing, it's exciting. They have a climate plan. It's not nearly good enough, but at least they have one, you know? But unfortunately, this new progressive government is staking all of its social capital on winning a new tar sands export pipeline because they believe that their political future in Alberta depends on getting a new pipeline. And so while we on the left and in the labor movement and in the environmental movement, while we as progressive generally really celebrate this extraordinary breakthrough for progressive politics in the heart of our Texas, it's also really disappointing that they are dividing us by pushing this export model. The LEAP Manifesto emerged from Canadian social movements, but an interesting cross-sectoral constellation of Canadian social movements. And it has already inspired a lot of interest in other places. There's a LEAP Manifesto process going on in Australia right now. There's a LEAP Manifesto being developed in the Arctic. There's a coalition of Scandinavian Green parties who have written their own manifesto for how to get off fossil fuels in a justice-based way that was directly inspired by the LEAP Manifesto. And there are a number of regional experiments in the United States where people are looking towards the post-Bernie Sanders moment and where all of this exciting social movement youth energy is going to go. And people are looking at this movements moving together, this movement of movements model that is embedded in the LEAP Manifesto and thinking that it might speak to the post-Bernie movement about where does that momentum go in the United States. The fact that Bernie Sanders has been able to create so much excitement, so much incredible political momentum around talking about inequality and climate change as the two fundamental issues facing our species, the fact that more and more people are seeing them as linked, and the fact that that gives an opportunity for movements fighting on those different economic and environmental fronts to make common cause and attack these existential crises with common solutions that benefit and everyone and create millions of good-paying unionized jobs. This is the historic opportunity. The question is, will we seize it? I think everything is in play right now. We're seeing new alliances, we're seeing incredible momentum, we're seeing some really exciting projects like the LEAP Manifesto and many others. We're seeing some astonishing successes like the Keystone XL pipeline, which, you know, they were so confident that it was going to be built 6 years ago. They bought the pipe. It's been rotting in fields for the last 6 years. Now that company has to dispose of it.